What's up, guys? Welcome back to some more Hollow Knight. This is going to be a different one, though. We beat the game. We beat the Radiance. We beat the Path of Pain. We got the true ending. Everything. We're chilling on that stuff. We got to learn about all the lore, though. The game is kind of like Dark Souls, where you don't really find out everything along the way. So I've had this video recommended to me. We're going to sit here and watch this like it's a movie and check it out and learn everything that we can about the lore of Hollow Knight. The link to the original video is in the pinned comment as well as the description. It's by Skyrionn. I think I know how to say that, maybe. I think I'm saying that correctly. Not my video, Skyrion's video. Go check out the original video. Leave it a like, subscribe over there, and check it out for sure. But we're going to look at that today. And it should be a good time. How are you guys doing? I don't know if my music is even playing. I think it killed my music. I had music for a second. There it is. It stopped. I don't know why it had stopped, but it's back. We'll put the camera back up here too. There we go. Yeah, I'm excited to check this out. I'm also very excited to get into silksong. That's going to be a lot of fun, but we're not quite there yet. We have to learn kind of all of what's going on. We got Rami, Robert, and Fionn in here right now. Hope you guys are having a good weekend. And we are a little bit later stream-wise than we would be otherwise. We had a friend that moved away that was in town, so we had lunch with her and got to chat and everything, so we had to push it back a little bit today. Usually I'll try to shoot for around like 10 a.m. on Saturday, but if we have something going on, I may have to push it back. But I think we're gonna get this going, and you guys can let me know if the volume is good or not, and we'll just wing this. It's gonna be a weird one. This is just like a movie time, essentially. No gameplay, nothing like that. I have subtitles on too, so that should help you guys. Let me know how it sounds.
In the wilds across a vast wasteland,
We'll talk a little bit over it too. We might pause some.
One day become home to the grand kingdom of Hallownest, a tragic tale of light and darkness.
I like this voice. This is good.
Deep underground, into the very bedrock
What's
of
up,
the
Talon?
tunnels was a civilization. The bugs here devoted their worship not to a lord, power, or king, but to the very darkness itself.
Is that better?
The void.
The void.
Even now, not a lot is known about this ancient civilization deep down in the abyss of the void.
Okay, so that's what
is that these bugs were intelligent and expanded their reach into the tunnels and open caverns above. They discovered that soul animated and gave their bodies life.
Okay, so the bugs from the lower area, the void, it had a different name though in the game. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but that lower area, they were intelligent and kind of started pushing their way up, I guess. Just got on the computer, very nice. Why the try horses? Try horses. I lowered the opacity a little bit, just to kind of mess with the footage slightly. Just I don't know, I don't really know if that does anything, but I'm trying to keep it from like this being the best way to watch the video, or like have it super clear and perfect here, because I want people to support the original video for sure, because it's not mine. But Ancient Basin, that's the one. Yeah,
force that flowed through the very air
How's
itself. To contain and manipulate this substance, these ancient bugs constructed soul totems. Across the lands, their civilization created weapons through nailsmiths.
The nailsmiths came from them.
Their history on arcane eggs, and some were believed to have weaponized the very void itself.
Oh, the gunk is the void. Okay.
Were magnificent. It was as if the rock itself possessed a will and adapted to the desire of the bugs that inhabited this region. Despite how grand this civilization became.
That explains all the like blackness right here. Yeah, when they were like attacking out of there, I guess. Yeah, we never really saw anything on that outside of that, so that is the void. So that makes sense that darkness is kind of like alive almost. Okay.
One day, it simply came to an end. Looking back, it is unknown what happened to this ancient civilization, but in their fall, artifacts of their triumphs became
and the soul totems were theirs as well.
The bodies of the largest inhabitants decayed and showed those
Oh, and
who
that's what
traveled
those.
through that a
Okay, that's what the big
civilization
like
once existed
bodies
here.
and skeletons were
Deep
too.
down in the abyss, the void simply existed in a sea of darkness. And when there is darkness, there is also light to counter it.
True. Very true.
This greater world was large and home to many bugs with simple thoughts. There were, however, higher beings of great power. One of these was the Radiance.
Okay, so that was one thing I wondered.
Giant moth
Those other
was
bugs
one
are
of
not
the
like
most
intelligent
powerful
necessarily.
creatures, and she shone
But the Radiance,
brightly.
you guys
As
remember
a
that
being
thing?
of light, the Radiance became an instant enemy to the void.
Makes
As a
sense.
higher being, the Radiance had natural incredible abilities. On the land of this fallen civilization, the Radiance
Remember what thing? The Radiance. Just getting beat up by the Radiance.
brought into existence a new intelligent species, having been created.
What's that, Wolf's Bane? What now? I don't know. The whatever, you know, just the thing. The moth. Whole mythology is a little murky now that Silksong is out. Did it like mess with it a little bit? That's interesting because this video was like a year ago. So we'll get an idea and then we'll see what happens when we're playing Silksong.
By a higher being, the Moth tribe worshipped the Radiance and her light.
So the Moth tribe
They
was
basked in
created
it.
by the Radiance, which
The
includes the
Radiance
Seeker.
was a beacon
or
of
Seer.
light. Alongside her ability to create life and light, she also taught the Moth how to interact with, influence, and manipulate essence.
So that explains the
Essence
Seer being a
powered
moth then.
dreams, and in turn, the entirety of the dream realm.
Didn't
A
the Seer
realm
say they were the
separated
last of
from
their
the
tribe
physical
too?
world by a veil. Now, the expanse of dreams once consisted of dreams and nightmares. However, at one point in time, these realms were split. Under the guidance of the Radiance,
exactly, Robert.
the Moth tribe
The
discovered
moths would worship the light.
countless realms of dreams. Each one was formed from the memories
Wow.
of the living and the dead. An entire realm could be formed from thought and will alone. From the bugs, plants, and gods of the land, the dream realms were home to almost anything that the imagination could form, all powered by essence that floated like dust in these powerful realms. As for the Nightmare realm, it was also powered by a sort of essence, flame. These realms were similar, but darker in nature to the dream realm.
So the Nightmare is
Controlled by the
grim.
Nightmare Heart, another higher being. Troops were sent out to ruined lands to collect Nightmare Essence flames to fuel the Nightmare Heart. In their devotion and worship of the Radiance, the Moth tribe explored essence, soul, and dreams. In this exploration, they created the Dream Nail. This powerful nail was incredible. The moths pierced the veil between the waking
Adorable
and the dream
minigames,
worlds.
which ones?
They extracted soul and essence from living creatures. They used the dream world to essentially teleport across vast distances with dream gates.
Oh,
and
they did the
even
idea of the
entered
gates
the
too.
minds of the bugs around them to discover their darkest secrets.
Whoa, that's kind of
Yet,
wild.
some minds were too powerful to penetrate.
Oh, gotcha.
These
Silksong.
dream walkers have been crafted with a light brighter than essence, and under the Radiance's lead, they learned how to shape
interesting,
dreams.
Wolfsbane.
The light also kept the void at bay.
Maybe it's like an
The
unreliable
Radiance
narrator
had
type
used
situation.
her light to create life. She had offered them knowledge of and access to the dream realms. All she wanted in return was their worship. And yet, the Radiance was not the only higher being that had come to this land. To the west, the giant slug Un dreamt of a world of luscious leaves, luxurious bushes, swirling vines, lakes of acid, and
The music
green
for Hollow Knight is
children
so
to
good.
walk amongst the forests. As a higher being of light, her dream transformed the barren, rocky caverns of this bleak land into lush chambers full of vegetation and lakes.
So
From
all
her
of that
dream
came
also
from
walked the Mothkin into the physical world, the green children of Un. These once
Okay.
empty caverns,
I just thought that was like a
chambers,
natural thing, but
tunnels and
maybe not.
basins became home to the life, soul, and essence of Greenpath.
I don't know if I
Within,
did. I don't
the
think I
green
did.
children of Un, just like the Moth tribe of the Radiants, worshipped their god and erected temples to honor and worship her. One of which was constructed at the
Ooh.
Lake of Un, a site that the
I don't
higher
think-
being communed with.
Oh,
her
that's funny.
children. Each
I don't think we
plant
ever
and
saw
bug,
Un,
no
like,
matter how
right there.
big or
I don't
small,
recognize
was
that.
important to the Mothkin, for they had been created within the mind of Un. Because of this, the Mothkin tribe were very territorial and protective of Greenpath and those who sought to explore it.
Oh, okay.
To the southeast of Greenpath lay the fungal wastes. It was in the southern part of this region that the Mantis tribe formed a village.
Not necessarily
The
entirely
Mantis
proven
did
true.
not appear
Okay.
to worship any higher being and were completely self-sufficient. Led by their Mantis
The Mantises just
lords,
worship
the
their
youngest
skills.
Of this tribe were encouraged to kill to prove their strength, to claim
Yeah.
their place in the tribe. The Mantis valued honor and tradition. They did not like outsiders, but did at least respect one if they engaged in an honorable fight. If their challenger died,
Oh, there's the
they
traitor.
died. However, if they lived, they were offered freedom to explore the village. The Mantis' ability to defend
They're
themselves
basically like
did come
samurai
useful.
culture.
To the west of their village, Deepness became home to
Yuck.
the Spider tribe, and
Horrible.
later the Weaver tribe, who had traveled
Yuck.
from a faraway land. Many speculated this to be Falu. At this moment, this is just speculation.
Is that a silksong
The
thing?
inhabitants of Deep Nest were arguably the most intelligent species of this
And then
land.
you have all the actual
Weavers
silk too, right?
crafted
Because it's
stories,
spiders, so that would make
shields,
sense.
and spells on their looms as they recorded their history on spools. Their village was meticulously crafted by the arachnids who
Okay.
created houses of silk that hung across a deep cavern. It was in these that their king and queen monitored the population, and their midwife helped birth children. It was also here
Ew.
that the arachnids plotted
What's that,
to
Bean Boy?
expand their reach by force across the land.
Yeah, they would
The
use
issue
force.
they had was that the Mantis blocked their access to it.
Oh,
The
cool.
entirety of
So
this
that literally
land
is the
had
gate that
once
just stops them.
worshipped the void, and after that civilization had fallen, many
Okay.
more had popped up and claimed their regions. From the distant village of Deepness,
Oh, nice.
the Mantis Lords of Mantis Village,
How did
to
that
the
go?
Mothkin of Greenpath, the mysterious snail shamans that manipulate
snail
soul
shaman.
into
Oh, yeah,
power
yeah.
spells, the dreamwalkers of the moth, and even the emptiness of the abyss. This land had a
So the void is like the ancient gods, basically, in a
Across
way.
it, there were also
then new gods
simple-minded
had come in.
bugs without true thoughts. They just wandered in the darkness.
Yeah.
As the ages passed, these colonies lived on and thrived in their homes. Within Greenpath, however, the Mothkin noticed that Un had started to fade away, and her interactions with them reduced in number.
Oh, yeah,
She
'cause that's what that
promised
lake
that
looked like.
One day, she would call for them to return to the dream they had come from. Until then, they just had
Yeah,
to be
because
patient.
uncreated
To
them.
the east of
and then they,
Greenpath,
okay.
another species came to the verdant region.
Nice.
This was a family of hunters who even hunted each other for fun. Over their
Hunting
time
each
there,
other for fun
the
is
family
wild.
moved away until only one remained, alone in his small area of Greenpath. As
Okay,
it burrowed
okay.
through the mountains of the wasteland, a worm finally stopped and settled. The worm were, just like Un and the Radiants, higher beings of light.
Okay.
This worm looked at the land ahead and saw what it could become. Of the many abilities
So
of
many
this
spikes.
god
Who created the
species,
spikes?
The worm could see the future to an extent. He saw that this land could become a grand kingdom if he let it. The land was home to many bugs of sentient mind, but there were many others that clawed in the darkness,
Johnny Spikeseed.
unaware of anything, just bugs. he
Well,
would
we don't
become
worship
their
Johnny
king.
Spikeseed, that's for sure.
In order to do this, the worm entered a process of metamorphosis and shed his large form. He became small, just like them.
Okay.
In this new form, the worm went by the title of the Pale King, as his shell transformed the kingdom's edge into an ashen wasteland as it decayed.
That's almost a similar idea of like God becoming human.
And as he looked at the land ahead of him, he claimed it as the
taking on the smaller form to kind of walk among them.
The worm in general had incredible abilities. Not only could the king see the future and pull lesser bugs into his thrall,
slightly different connotation with it, but just the idea of like coming down.
Instilled the simple-minded bugs of Hallownest with sentience and intelligence. Under his beacon, the bugs of Hallownest saw the Pale King as the leader, ruler, and the higher being who had created everything within Hallownest. Yet, an issue arose for those who sought to leave the kingdom. For if they moved too far away from Hallownest, they would relinquish the precious mind that the king had granted them. For the bugs already with sapience, their time in Hallownest, for the most part, would become a distant, foggy memory.
Oh, wow.
By the Pale King's side was the White Lady.
Oh, yeah, I remember the White Lady.
Higher being of Roots. Under the leadership of Worm and Roots, Hallownest would thrive. Their union was solidified with the King's Soul, a charm
the mask
with
pieces
two
are them.
halves
Okay.
that, when combined, produced unlimited soul from the very air.
Interesting.
In the depths of the land, just above
Gru's mother.
the palace grounds were constructed, and within,
that area is so pretty.
Was the White Palace.
The White Palace, yeah, and that entrance was destroyed actually in the game.
White Lady, and those chosen to be their royal retainers. The king was fascinated with the void below and wanted to form the entire kingdom of Hallownest above the palace. Void was an interesting and mysterious force. To keep it
so
calm,
those dark walls that were blocking us from moving also is void.
And ordered one of his subjects to keep the light active at all times.
Okay.
With
yeah, he's got a big thing for buzzsaws.
The king
for some
had
reason.
Some of the substance brought to his palace so that he could experiment with and explore it in his workshop. From his work, the king
even
created
those
several void constructs.
So those
he filled heavy
bugs
white
are
armor with the substance. For void had no will and no mind to think.
Whoa. Okay, so these guys are like artificial creatures that he was experimenting with the void and building, like these white knights and the bugs that you bounce off of. Wow. Okay, that's kind of crazy. I didn't really pick that up. Wow. Okay.
In this state,
hey, Crest.
it did what the king commanded. These armored void entities were named King's Molds and were stationed within and across the palace.
They're like zombies.
To defend it. The Pale King stayed within his palace and rarely left. But from here, he had a lot of work.
There's something called the Collector that we missed? Okay.
The bugs of Hallownest had sworn their loyalty to their king. He had promised them that Hallownest would last eternal, and he truly believed it would. Although many bugs had woken up and gained the ability to think, feel, and act of their own accord, many of the bugs of this land already had these abilities. In an attempt to develop a working Grand Kingdom, the Pale King reached out to the tribes that existed within the borders of his Hallownest to unite the land. Each tribe could offer something valuable. Over the ages, the Moth tribe had still worshipped the Radiance and her light, but several turned their backs on her and chose to worship the Pale King instead when he asked. For their place in Hallownest, the Moth offered their ability to communicate with the Dream Realm. In doing so, they became the caretakers of the dead. Within the resting grounds and
okay.
Spirit's Glade, the moths granted the bugs of Hallownest a place of sanctuary, peace
Interesting.
and serenity before and
Yeah,
after.
yeah, that's wild,
They
Wolfsbane.
conducted rituals, communed with the departed, and helped those who grieved accept their loss through the manipulation.
Yeah, literally, like, the new god asks nicely and basically says they'll give you a sign-on bonus if you go over to their side, and then you're just like, yeah, it's fine. No big deal. We can do that.
Of essence. To the west, the hive-minded mushrooms of the fungal waste saw the king's power of foresight as a form of protection. So they accepted his offer to join the kingdom. The Mosskin of Greenpath waited for the call of Un to return to the dream. Yet, while territorial, they welcomed the Pale King and allowed him to have roads constructed across their land. However, they also left a warning. If any strayed from the king's road, they would face the laws of Un. The Pale King also asked for more from the Mosskin. He and the White Lady liked the luscious region of Greenpath so much that they decided to claim the entire southern region. The Queen's Garden still resembled the dream that Un had created it from, but as a retreat for the Queen.
So that's why that area is randomly called Queen's Gardens, even though it looks basically the same.
As this area
because they just claimed it because they liked it.
It was heavily guarded, and only those chosen by the king or queen were allowed access. While several of the
it's cool how much like
borders of Hallownest
seemingly random
agreed
details
to
are all
become a
connected to
part
this.
of the kingdom, there were others who refused to cooperate. The Weaver and Spider tribe of Nest had no interest in becoming a part of the Pale King's kingdom. They wanted the land for themselves. The Mantis tribe also declined the Pale King's offer to join.
Yeah, they got some like
kingdom of
added effects on the footage
In
here.
this case, however,
I think
a deal was
looks
made
nice, though.
between the two parties. The Pale King offered the Mantis Lords their sovereignty if they kept the aggressive population of Deep Nest sealed in
That's
sight,
what that
in
all
which
was.
They
Okay.
agreed. There was also the bees of the hive to the east. Their hive had been constructed within the kingdom's borders, but their queen, Queen Vesper, decided to keep out of the problems and politics of a growing kingdom as the hive sealed their entrances. Although
okay, so
some
that's
had
why it's all
chosen
shut up.
not to become a part of the kingdom of Hallownest.
That's
the
interesting.
Worm's Beacon
So he just
did
tried to lay
bring
claim on
travelers
like
from other
everything,
lands,
basically. Some of them
and
went with
they
it, and then some of them
came
were just
upon
nah.
relics of an
I was thinking the
ancient
same thing. Yeah, it's like
civilization,
Switzerland.
one of which was found to the north of the kingdom's edge. Several travelers discovered the large remains of an ancient beast. It was inside that they formed the Colosseum of Fools, an arena of entertainment where the strongest warriors fought trials. Having pulled together the tribes of Hallownest,
I love the
Pale King
environmental
and
storytelling
White
in
Lady
games like
watched as
this.
the
It's so
rest of
cool.
the kingdom flourished in the caverns above the White Palace. King's Pass welcomed new bugs to the kingdom of Hallownest with a large bridge that led to the small town of Dirtmouth. Although modest, it offered access to the crossroads below, stores that sold interesting wares, easy access to the top of Crystal Peak, a graveyard for the fallen, and even the opportunity to meet Confessor Gigi, a powerful entity who had the ability to manipulate Void in return for a rancid.
Yeah, I guess
The
like
creation of the
dead
crossroads
form
below
that we go to
Dirtmouth
is the
allowed
void
the
energy
kingdom
too.
to pulse with life as the bugs explored the towns and cities. Hallownest thrived in trade, refuge, and adventure. While Sol was regarded as a great energy source, Hallownest relied mostly on the crystals of Crystal Peak to power the kingdom. In doing so, it meant that bugs were hired to mine these purple gems with the help of Glimbacks and Shardamites to help them transport the heavy
Interesting.
loads.
Okay.
For those who followed the Pilgrim's Way through the verdant wilds of Greenpath and the fungal wastes, they would reach the heart of the kingdom. Hallownest's capital city. A place in which they were promised to share in the city's
These enemies
glory.
are like
Their wishes
superimposed
would
on
be
here. That's funny.
granted and their
It's cool though.
truths revealed. During Hallownest's golden age, this city went by one name, but it has been lost to time. Due to many
So
of
that's
the
the
events
city
to
of
come,
tears, though.
it would later become known as the City of Tears. The heart of Hallownest was
They very much do.
huge. The western quarter housed the common bug, and the east housed the more influential, wealthier, and royal. Upon their entrance to the city, the pilgrims would have noticed the grand spires that darted into the peak of this cavern. The statues of powerful knights, the guardians who protected the civilians, and they would have heard the melodic sounds of Marissa the songstress from
I was gonna
the
say, wait a
pleasure
minute.
house.
You got like
The city
blonde
even
hair on
had
that
a
bug there.
pretty advanced water structure that ran underground. These royal waterways dealt with the city's waste, and for the items that fell down into these sewers, they slowly collected together and formed a giant pit of junk.
So that's basically
Back
just the
within
dump.
the city,
All the waste of the
Soul
city.
Sanctum offered the
I do
scholars
remember
of
seeing that.
soul the ability to explore and understand just what the substance was capable of.
It's the
as they
College of
used
Winterhold.
soul totems and
Skyrim
containers to
terms.
store it, just as the lost
So they were
ancient
studying it and kind
civilization
of being
had done
mages that way.
ages before. In the highest spire of the city, Lurian the Watcher observed the entire city with his telescope.
Ornery
He was one
wizard
of the
bugs,
most
yep.
loyal to his king, and as a high-ranking member of the kingdom, he was even granted Watcher Knights to protect him in his role. As the capital of Hallownest, various materials were imported in from the surrounding regions. Some of many were silks, artwork, and fabrics. While so many resources came in, only few were sent out. This kingdom
Yeah, I was gonna
thrived
say,
on
we
the
saw the
currency of
False Knight
geo,
lore, 'cause we did beat the
adventure,
dream
and
version.
Many even traded in charms, powerful accessories that contained a spark of power woven into their very cores.
Yeah, how do these
They
work?
offered those who wore them the
Are they
ability
powered
to
by
change
soul?
how they interacted with the world, enhance strength, the potential to manipulate soul at will, to enhance and extend their lives, and protection were just some of many adaptations.
So those would be pretty
Charms
sought after
were
then.
highly sought after,
Yeah,
but
literally,
they
yeah,
were
I just said
very limited.
That's
Each
funny.
one was unique. There may have been many ways to craft these items, but the darkest secret of the kingdom was that they formed from a dying wish.
That's Joni,
The
right?
Pale King's actions had formed a large civilization that spanned for miles and miles through several territories and biomes. Yet, he spent the most of his time in the White Palace to offer their worship to him. The citizens of Hallownest fashioned king's idols so that they could physically thank and revere him, even if it was from
And those
a
were some of the things that
distance.
we could find
The
and then
king's knights
sell.
were also given ornate seals as symbols of their service to the kingdom. Every
Also one
bug
of
had
those.
a role in this melting pot.
We'll
of
have to find
culture,
out, Crust.
While the grubs could tunnel through the caverns as they awaited metamorphosis.
That is a fat guy.
Not every citizen had this ability. To navigate the kingdom, the citizens of Hallownest could have travelled by foot through Kingdom's Way, and a lot did. The king did, however, implement other forms of travel. Hallownest was home
No,
to
we
the
didn't get all the
stag
grubs. We were kind of
These
close.
large bugs loved to run, and with Hallownest as their home, they ran through the long, empty tunnels of the land.
Basically,
To
Shaw.
give the stags a role in the kingdom, stag stations were opened up across the land. In essence, if a bug required transportation to the other end of Hallownest, they simply rang a bell and a stag would be there.
I don't. Is there a
These
twist? Yeah, I don't know
stations
that. Maybe I
opened
don't
up
want to
the
know.
kingdom even more. From Dirtmouth, Greenpath, the Fog Canyon, the capital city, and even Deep
Actually,
Mist, the
wait.
stags of
Hold on. Where are we at? Like 2510. Bring me back to this shot.
Metamorphosis.
So he's out of here. And I don't see a single grub, and I don't think those are supposed to be in the shot. He ate them, didn't he? That's probably what he did. Does he eat them after you find them all? Because if that's the case, I'm almost glad that I didn't. Yes, yeah, that's wild. I'd be like in Breath of the Wild. If you find all the Koroks and then Hestu just like kills all of them. They metamorphose out of the stomach, supposedly. Oh, interesting. Okay. I just realized what I was looking at. I was like, wait. He's a sacrifice? Okay, so maybe he's what kind of like gets them into the next form. Possibly then. I don't know. That's so funny though.
Path. The stags love
we were like right around here.
The land.
Yeah.
In essence, if a bug required transportation to the other end of Hallownest,
that's crazy.
They simply rang a bell and a stag would be there. These stations opened up the kingdom even more. From Dirtmouth, Greenpath, the Fog Canyon, the capital city, and even Deepnest,
they got the railroads. It opened them up.
Navigated the long tunnels for the citizens. A station was also constructed in Queen's Gardens. However, only few were permitted. Yeah,
Grubsong is really good.
This path. The stags loved their role in Hallownest, and after a long day of work, they returned to the stag nest, their home and place. Yeah,
but during the game, he was like the last one, right?
Something happened. Interesting passengers spoke of new tunnels they had discovered and raised their young. The stag stations were immensely important. Even still, the king also
spam ton. Welcome to the stream. Try to avoid spamming though.
A tram system. In their construction of the
tram,
the tracks ran from the resting grounds, the crossroads, Kingdom's Edge, and the basing close to where the White Palace had been constructed. The workers did also attempt to manufacture a line that ran through Deepnest, but the Spider Tribe killed anyone who stepped on their land.
That's why you have the wreck tram over there.
The construction of this line was abandoned.
And oh wow,
with a dream to craft the perfect nail and nails for the land's fighters, a nailsmith set up a workshop just outside of the capital city. Even in a mostly safe kingdom like Hallownest, there were still dangers. To create this perfect weapon, the smith sought out pale ore.
This video is really well made. There's a lot of like cool subtle additions to it.
Of the land. With
really
their
spicing
weapons,
it up.
Warriors came to the ultimate nailmaster Sly for training in the art of combat.
Sly is like a little fruit
Mato,
fly.
And Shio were just 3 known students. The Fog Canyon became home to one of Hallownest's greatest minds, Monomon the Teacher.
Oh,
in this region,
that's one of the sleepers, right?
Monomon. Cackling electricity. This large jellyfish had her archive constructed. It was here that she researched the land.
Oh yeah, that area was wild. That looked like Resident Evil or something.
Knowledge. As a teacher, she also offered her knowledge to her students, one of which was Quirrell.
Monomon.
This golden age of Hallownest truly offered a place for every bug, creature, and traveler. It was because of the culture and traditions the Pale King had perfectly crafted that the 5 great knights of Hallownest were revered.
Yeah, the great knights.
Zemur had traveled from a land serene and brought with her the delicate flower. Immensely fragile flowers that contained a power that, even now, few understand. Isma was regarded as a kind warrior and had some connection to the acid lakes.
Isma, there was an area and a charm for her, I remember.
That she could have had some
or a skill, walking through the acid, that's what it was.
Hegemol was the largest of the Great 5 and was known to make his friends laugh. Drya was the fiercest of the warriors.
Drya's cool.
And then there was Ogrim, the knight who took his oath.
He looks like a Yeti with the colors.
Seriously. While the kingdom thrived just outside of the borders, the tribe of Deepnest suffered a great loss. The ruler died, and control of Deepnest was left to their partner, Hera. While
Doma,
only
Doma.
a common beast, the weavers and spiders of Deep Nest still regarded her as their queen, and under her rule, they attempted to move on from their loss. Under the worship
That
and
character
the
almost
leadership
looked like
of
Hornet.
the
That was kind of like a
Pale
red
King,
dress looking thing,
barren
just a
cavern
big
of
spearhead
simple bugs
instead.
had transformed into a grand civilization with doctors, adventurers, singers, poets, traders, and so many more. Over these ages, the king's guiding light had helped them thrive, but his influence had also extinguished another. The Moth tribe had initially turned their backs on their creator upon the arrival of the worm, and over this time, they had forgotten her. The Radiance, however, would not be forgotten.
Okay, that explains why the Radiance is so angry.
The ancient light of the Radiance had been forgotten by the Moths of Hallownest in an attempt to make them and the rest of the population of the kingdom remember her. The Radiance entered their dreams. As they slept, the citizens dreamt of a burning light, and she appeared to them. This light threatened to break their minds as it pulled the first victims into a deep slumber.
Oh, that's
when
crazy.
They awoke, they became feral and aggressive as they reverted
explains
back
the
to
eyes
the
on
simple
those.
minds of their ancestors before the arrival and gift of sapience from the king. That was if they accepted the call of union she offered in these
The call of
dreams.
union.
The majority of Hallownest dreamt of this forgotten light, and the king urged his people to resist the forgotten light that plagued their dreams.
Oh, this
As
is
a result
wild.
of these desperate attempts to be remembered,
This is wild.
and the king's orders to ignore and reject her, these dreams and the light manifested into an infection.
Okay.
Over his time in Hallownest, the Pale King had explored the void and understood that the Radiance threatened to
all
destroy
of that
everything he had formed.
came from the
He had
Radiance.
to act. Interestingly enough, within Mantis Village, the Mantis were naturally immune to her call. The Radiance existed solely within
They just don't
the
dream.
realm. So, the Pale King and White Lady formed a plan to completely remove her connection to the waking world.
Okay.
The madness of the infection spread across the entire kingdom
that
of
work,
Hallownest as the population declined quickly. To seal the Radiance and her influence away mentally and physically, the king turned
Void.
to the Void. Only an entity, a vessel with no mind to think, no will to break, and no voice to cry, born of God and Void, could hold the Radiance. The Pale King had created several Void constructs to protect and maintain the kingdom over the ages.
Oh shoot,
This
we
one
are.
would just be harder to perfect. In a union
We
of
are
worm
one
and
of those.
root, the Pale King and White Lady had many children. Each one was birthed in the abyss, where they died, were hollowed out,
Oh,
and
wow.
then inhabited by void. The king and queen murdered what appeared to be thousands of their children in an attempt to create a pure vessel that could contain the Radiance.
That's crazy.
To the king, no cost was too great to save his kingdom from the infection.
That's crazy.
The void shades of the abandoned children were left at the bottom
Basically,
of the abyss
nobody
as
is
the
a
king
really a
sought
good
out
guy
that
here.
one perfect vessel. And when the pure vessel eventually revealed itself, the king left the abyss with it and sealed the entrance behind
And
him.
that is the Hollow Knight
His
there, the
discarded
boss.
children were simply left down there. The creation of this pure
That's
vessel
crazy.
had come at a great cost, but it
And
was
then he
important
locked it up.
to save the kingdom. The vessel, however, was just one part of the containment of the Radiance. As the king brought the pure vessel to the White Palace to raise it for its purpose, the king began the second stage of the plan. The pure vessel, when grown, would be sealed within the Temple of the Black Egg, but powerful seals had to be formed to keep it closed, to trap it inside. Seals that only 3 powerful dreamers would form if they entered an eternal sleep. Lurien the Watcher volunteered for this role out of loyalty to his
Oh.
king, and Monoman the Teacher of Fog Canyon also accepted this great responsibility. For the third
So I
and
thought the
final
Hollow Knight like
seal,
fought
the
Radiance
Pale
and
King
lost and
reached
then was
out to
captured, but
Hera
no,
the
that was
Beast
actually part of the plan.
Deepnest. Although her tribe had refused to become a part of Hollow Nest, the Radiance infection had also affected them. Even so, Hera had a request. Hera had lost her partner, but she desperately wanted a child. In a union between tribes, the Pale King gave Hera the Beast what she desired. Together, they created a child of
And
God,
what was that?
the Beast. As Deepnest awaited the birth of their queen's spawn, the Pale King returned to the White Palace and spent time with the
That's
vessel,
wild.
his child.
Pale King gets around.
Over
That
this
is
time,
insane.
the vessel was seen by the population of Hollow Nest
Yeah, that
as
was
their
the clip
savior
after the
that
Path
would
of Pain.
seal away the radiance, their Hollow Knight. Soon, the time came and the Hollow Knight was brought to the Temple of the Black Egg, and it was chained within.
Literally
In a
the
ritual,
Zeus of Hollow
the
Nest, yeah.
radiance was summoned to the Knight's dream, and as it had no will, no mind, and no suffering, the light was trapped within. Across Hollow Nest, the dreamers prepared to complete their
wow. Okay. So the whoa. It was just like an empty vessel as bait for the Radiance to come down and then just become stuck inside there, which explains why the only way to battle it is to enter its mind, essentially, is because that's where the Radiance is trapped in. That's crazy. That's super crazy.
role in this plan. Monoman the Teacher stored herself within her archives. As a dreamer, the power of this ritual already protected her to an extent. However, she also put in place another level of security. The Teacher formed a connection between her mask and the container she would be placed in to dream. If someone or something did attempt to access her physical form, they would require her mask. A mask that she gave to her apprentice, Quirrell. To protect his teacher, Quirrell left Hollow Nest with the mask, and as he moved further away from the king's beacon, his memories of this crumbling kingdom faded away.
Now I'm remembering
Within
that scene
the
with
capital
him
city,
too.
at the peak of the Watcher's Spire, Lurien the Watcher lay down and slept as his Watcher Knights protected the entrance to his body.
That boss was tough.
Over in Deepnest, Hera the Beast and the Spider Tribe were overjoyed with the birth of their princess, Hornet. Hera was only able to...
Whoa. Wait a second. Hornet is Hera and the Pale King's child. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, I left Hollow Nest for too long. I was trying to figure out, I was like, who would that be? But yeah, I mean, it's obvious. I should have known that. Hornet is the Knight and Hollow Knight's half-sister. Yeah. But... okay, so wait, so she's not an empty vessel, though, because she's partially from... she's not from the abyss at all. She's from an actual being. That's crazy. Okay. That makes sense, though. Even the head is similar there.
Before she had to enter the beast den to go to sleep. As the three dreamers went to sleep, they entered the dream realm and became seals on the Temple of the Black Egg.
Okay.
With the radiance sealed away, trapped within the Hollow Knight inside the Black Egg Temple, sealed by the dreamers, the kingdom breathed a sigh of relief. Many of the bugs went to the temple to pray, and a memorial fountain was constructed inside of the walls of the capital city. A structure to remind them of the great sacrifice that not only the Hollow Knight had made, but also the dreamers.
Okay.
The creation of the Hollow Knight and sacrifice of the Dreamers to save the kingdom weighed heavily on
Yeah,
the White
that's
Lady.
crazy.
It was her children that had been discarded in the abyss to find that one pure vessel.
Yeah, and that
she
many
felt
too.
shame for her role in this plan.
I mean, you kind of
To
should.
stop herself from the creation of future offspring, the White Lady traveled to the Queen's gardens. With her powers of roots, she bound herself to the ground. Unable to defend herself, Drya of the Great 5 Knights of Hallownest took an oath to stand watch of her queen.
Wait, where was
protect her
Drya
from
though? Because
any
I don't remember
harm.
seeing Drya.
Despite everything the Pale King and the Dreamers had done,
I feel bad
to
for
save
making
the
fun of the
kingdom,
White Lady now
even
because of her
after
name.
The sacrifice of
It
the
just caught me
Hollow
off guard.
Knight, the Radiance once again appeared in the dreams of the bugs. Of
Hold on,
the
go back, go
Radiance
back.
saved the kingdom to stand watch of her queen and protect
Oh,
her
just a
from
corpse,
any
okay.
harm. Despite everything the Pale King and the Dreamers had done to save the kingdom,
Yeah.
even after the sacrifice of the Hollow Knight,
So the plan didn't work
Radiance
perfectly.
once again appeared in the dreams of the bugs.
So like,
of
Radiance was
Hallownest.
trapped in the Hollow
The
Knight's
vessel
mind, but
had
also
been
was
pure
able to
upon
still.
its selection by the king. However, during its time in the White Palace, it had forged a connection with its father. An idea had been instilled. It had a mind, thoughts, and it had become impure. The order of the events during this period are murky. Regardless, none of them were good. The Mosskin of Greenpath were mostly unaffected by the infection, but
so
this
sad,
aggressive
though.
attack on the kingdom did amplify their desire to
That
be
makes it 10
reunited
times
with
worse.
The miners in Crystal Peak fell. Some even merged with the crystals they mined and became mad and aggressive.
Yeah, those guys are
The
crazy.
mushroom tribe of the fungal wastes that had once allowed pilgrims to traverse their land also became actively hostile against most they encountered. Alongside this, several spoke of a master herald that would signal age's end. A rumored deity that had its own mind
Deity,
outside
that's
of the
quite a
hive mind
pronunciation.
they shared. A mushroom that went by the name Mr. Mushroom. Reports showed that he tried.
Wait, what? Mr. Mushroom? Did we see Mr. Mushroom? I don't remember anything about Mr. Mushroom, but that is the best name for a mushroom that I've ever heard of. So he was like outside of the hive mind.
Mushroom that went by the name Mr. Mushroom.
Mr.
Reports showed that he traveled across Hallownest unhindered by the infection.
Interesting.
As the death toll increased, the kingdom attempted to reduce the spread. The Spirit's Glade was sealed, and the capital city of Hallownest closed its gates so that no one could enter and no one could leave. The tram and stag stations were shut down. In doing this, the stags slowly fell.
So there is a way to
into
see Mr. Mushroom, but it's like pretty obscure.
Without a bell to be heard to signal them, they were also forgotten about. Because of this, every region within Hallownest became isolated. The rock base of the cavern above the capital city cracked, and with it, the waters of the cavern of Blue Lake dripped from above. This gave the capital city the name it would be remembered for, the City of Tears.
Yeah.
Although the gates had been closed, the Radiance still wiped out large chunks of the
Forgot to add a death.
population within.
It's nice and even,
As
though.
for
We're
their
gonna leave it, you know?
history and records, the parchments of spider silk became ineligible. In these dire times, there were some who still had hope. The Soul Master of the Soul Sanctum saw in his dreams that the cure for this infection could be attained through pure focus, an ability granted through the consumption
died a
and
couple times this stream.
manipulation
That's
of
true. Probably like
soul.
3.
This dream, however, was a nasty trick.
Just from revelation.
By the Radiance. The Pale King ordered that this line of thought be a
Hold on, go back again.
soul. An ability granted through the consumption and
Pure
manipulation of soul.
Yeah.
This dream, however, was a nasty trick.
Okay,
by
so no,
the
it's not
Radiance.
actually real.
The Pale King ordered that this line of thought be abandoned, but the Soul Master could not understand why his leader refused to at least try to stop the Moth of Light. This Master of Soul believed that if they could use the substance that animated their very bodies, it would help them defeat the infection. So he ignored
just did his
the
own
Pale
thing.
King. Within the Soul Sanctum, the Soul Master and his scholars hoarded the soul totems of the kingdom and slowly became intoxicated by its power.
So that's
the
what those
intensity
are.
of this substance deformed many of them as it mutated their body into mistakes. The Soul Master, however, did retain his shape and he stayed in the Soul Sanctum. Close by, one member of the upper class of the city watched as the population was driven into madness. Emelita had been cast out by those she
That
had
reminds
once
me of
called
Bloodborne.
friends, and she reveled.
She's hanging out in
madness.
the house. Everything's
She
shut
locked
up
herself
while there's
in a
just
tower
crazy
and
people
watched
outside.
the chaos unfold. Emelita enjoyed the show. The madness of the infection
wild,
simply evaded her. Over in the Mantis village, their natural immunity allowed them to ride out the initial infection as they dealt with other issues. The daughter of one of their leaders had entered into a relationship with an outsider. This was not just any outsider, it was Zamir of the Great Five Knights of Hallownest. The Mantis leaders ordered that this relationship be put to an end,
Zamir's pretty cool, though.
It did not stop the connection they had for each other. This natural immunity to the Radiance, for the most part, was fantastic for the Mantis tribe. There were some, however, who believed if they chose to worship her light, they would be gifted with power. Unfortunately for the Mantis, one of their 4 leaders fell to this lure, branded the Traitor Lord.
And they
this
even
leader
broke the
turned
throne.
on his sisters. In response, the sisters forced those who had fallen for the Radiance's light out of Mantis village.
So the Traitor
Without
Lord
hope,
defected to the
Mantis
Radiance.
traitors claimed a new territory within Queen's Gardens, an act of aggression not only against but also the White Lady. These traitors did attempt to dominate this land, but they were met by the power of Dryer. Ultimately, she fell to the constant waves of Mantis attacks in
I do
defense
remember that
of
too.
her Queen. But
that's what I was saying.
traitors
Like,
also fell to
you
the
may not pick up on it all
infection
right
as they
away, but the
became
environmental
simple,
storytelling is just
creatures.
crazy. It's so cool.
Although Dryer had given her life for the White Lady, this higher being of root had grown so much since she had settled on this land. She was completely unaware
it
that
is interesting.
her protector had fallen. Interestingly enough,
she didn't even know.
some of the Mosskin turned their backs on and actively chose to worship the Radiance. The Moss Prophet and their followers believed Hallownest would be born again and united in the Radiance's blazing image. To worship her, they called out to the Moth in the Moss Chapel. Hallownest had fallen so far in such a short amount of time.
That's
the streets
rough.
filled with bodies, many
all over
bugs
the place.
reverted to a mind without sapience, and the regions of this kingdom separated. The Pale King's vision for a grand civilization had failed. Within the hive, the bees had lived independently away from the kingdom of Hallownest, but after their queen grew too large for the hive and died, they too fell to the
so
lure
that
of
queen
the
in the background
Radiance
was
after
dead.
the infection seeped into their home and
That's so
took
sad.
over. In an action that surprised the few that still lived, the Pale King pulled the White Palace from the physical realm and transported it into the dream realm.
I was wondering
along
how
with
that
his
was that
followers
way.
and servants. In these awful times, the Traitor Lord's daughter died and was buried in Queen's Gardens. Upon no notification of this news, her partner, Zamir, chose to renounce her duties as a great knight, entered the resting grounds, and became the Grey Mourner. Within the royal waterways, Isma entered a grove. Inside, she passed away to unknown means. Just outside,
That was her
Ogren
just like
defended her
forged
role
with
and waited
or
for
fused,
her.
not forged.
As for the 5th and final great knight of Hallownest, Hegamol, his fate is unknown. His armor was stolen as
This
he
kind of
slept
reminds
by
me
a
of the
maggot
champions in
desperate
Breath
to
of the
defend
Wild.
its kin.
A little bit.
After that, no
Even in
one
the storytelling a
knows.
little bit actually, because it's like
During this
kind
entire
of after
period,
things have already
deep
happened.
down in the abyss, some of the discarded vessels managed to climb out of their tomb. The king had sealed the entrance to this place, but they discovered a secret way out. With access to the kingdom, some stayed to explore it, while one left it entirely.
Oh wow,
With the
that's
king
crazy, Robert.
gone and the kingdom having entered a stasis to keep it eternal, and the majority of the inhabitants of the kingdom having fallen to the plague of the Radiance, Hallownest fell into ruin. Her influence
So it said one of the
taken their
vessels
minds,
left. We were
but
coming
still, the physical
into town at the start of the game,
infection
so I'm assuming
stayed
that's us.
inside of the Black Egg Temple. In Deep Nest,
Yeah.
Hornet was raised by the Weavers and midwife in her mother's absence. She
Okay.
knew her mother had sacrificed herself for Deep Nest, and as she grew up, Hornet explored Hallownest and protected the ruins from scavengers.
Yeah.
While the stags slowly died out as they waited for a bell to be rung to signal the return of the passengers, there were some who survived the infection. The nailsmith who had set up his workshop just outside of the City of Tears had, in a way, attained a sort of pure focus as he spent his attention on the forging of a pure nail.
He was just
a
locked
goal
in.
he would continue to attempt. The ultimate nail master Sly hung up his nail and set up a store in Dirtmouth.
That was kind of a cool twist to find out that the little guy there was
the
the
Geo was more important than combat. To get more of it, he sold the
OG
treasures and
nailsmith.
charms of the fallen kingdom to those who passed by. His students also moved across Hallownest. Oro relocated to Kingdom's Edge, Matto moved to the Howling Cliffs, and Shio made Greenpath his home and pursued art. For the few who remained of the Moth tribe, they prophesied someone that would wield a dream nail and collect all of the essence and memories of Hallownest.
It was me.
The wielder. Yet
The
this
wielder.
chosen one never arrived, and the tribe slowly died off until only a single
I do remember the
seer
seer
remained
singing
to
or saying
tend
that they were
to
the only one.
resting grounds alone. The King's Pass had once allowed those who traveled through the Howling Cliffs access to Dirtmouth and the Greater Kingdom. Over time and without maintenance, the connecting bridge collapsed. Dirtmouth slowly faded away as the residents within and the few who passed through entered the well into the forgotten.
This is kind of making me want to play this again.
Below, they sought wealth,
Just like
glory,
run through
and
it again on my
adventure,
Switch or
but
something.
Only few returned. The city of
Probably
Tears
not right away,
had
but
become a shell of its former self, but it was not completely dead. The Tower of Love was home to something.
The Tower of
interesting.
Love.
A void being named
Whoa.
Collector.
Yeah, we
The
didn't get
origin
there.
of this entity is shrouded mostly in mystery.
What's up with that? The
Why
form?
was it called the Collector? Well,
It was
collected
definitely
objects
made.
and most notably, the grubs of Hallownest and placed them inside of glass jars to
Oh, yeah.
preserve or protect them. On a more interesting note, the key to its home in the Tower of Love was later discovered on the body of a bug that had died. This was not a normal death. It appeared that
What?
Void had destroyed this bug from the inside.
Yeah,
as
it's like
streams of the
leaking.
substance fell like tears from its face.
Oh, that's
In the
wild.
bug's dying moments, it had thought, too long spent together, we
Became as one, or become as one.
The void entity and the bug had some sort of relationship,
Huh.
but what it truly meant is
Whoa, what the heck?
unknown. Deep underground
That's
in
wild.
the abyss, the void called out to the Lightkeeper appointed by the Pale
That's the same
King.
thing. That's like
It
the
called to him
abyss
to
like
turn
leaking out
off
there
the
too.
light. Within the White Palace, the Pale King also passed away. It is unknown how this occurred, but his followers inside this dream
the
realm
dream world.
still awaited his return. Hallownest was home to a long history of chaos and ruin. This fallen kingdom, however, was just one of many. The population of the land
This is
of
crazy.
storms had once worshipped the gods of thunder and the gods
Yeah, the storm
of rain.
is off to the west,
Their
like up at
gods
the
had
top.
either abandoned them or died. They sought out the gods and they went out into the wasteland to find more. The Godseekers had a mask that allowed them to focus their thoughts. In doing so, they created an entire world with the shared mind in the dream realm. Godhome. Inside, they hoped to elevate and eventually
now this I don't think I
their
saw
might
at
to
all.
commune with the gods of the world with a Godseeker device through ritual combat. On their journey,
Is this the
a
Pantheon
Godseeker
stuff?
picked up what lingered of the power of the Pale King, and it arrived in Hallownest, unaware that he had moved on. However, upon the Godseeker's arrival, it was locked inside of a cocoon and dropped into the junk pit of the royal
I do remember
waterways.
seeing that.
How and why this happened is unknown. Yet, while trapped physically, the Godseekers lived comfortably within Godhome. The Kingdom of Hallownest had essentially become a giant graveyard. Spirits of warriors waited for explorers to pass by them, yet some parts of the kingdom were alive. The strongest fighters across the land traveled towards Hallownest to compete in the Colosseum of Fools. Every one of them attempted to become the champion of the Colosseum. Despite their dreams of greatness, many died during
I'll have
their
to try that
trials,
third
and their
level of that
corpses
sometime.
were
That was pretty
dropped
fun.
into
It's
the
hard though.
chasm below. Even after the Lord Fool's death, the fighting continued.
Oh, that's
As
the Lord
ages
Fool.
passed, many
He had
who dreamt of
he's got the
greatness
leaking
took on the
thing
God
too.
Tamer. Two new fighters were Tiso and the Little Fool.
The Little
In
Fool.
the fading town of Dirtmouth, the retired nailmaster Sly fell into a dream and began to wander the forgotten crossroads, a world he had left behind long before. This was interesting. It was as if something deep within Hallownest had brought it back to life, and with it, new travelers made their way towards the kingdom. The oldest resident of the town, Elderbug, had grown up in age after the closure
He's the first
of the
guy. He's just the one
stag
standing
stations
there.
and fall of the world below. Still, he knew
Yeah,
of the
him.
dangers in the well. Dangers that had claimed so many that had entered and never returned. Within the City of Tears, a relic
It's
collector
so
said to be
crazy how much
stored
is in
away
this.
from the dead. Lem was fascinated by the historical artifacts of Hallownest during its golden age. He was also intrigued
gave
by
us
the
so much
arcane
money.
eggs of the civilization that had occupied the land before the kingdom of Hallownest.
That was a
had
cool
even
moment using
formed.
the shrieker.
As Hornet traversed across this fallen kingdom to protect her mother and father's ruins from scavengers, she also sensed something in the air. A new wave of the infection that reanimated the bodies of the fallen into aggressive husks. Hornet was mostly alone
Literal
after
zombies.
the Weavers of Deepnest left Hallownest to return to their homeland after they also sensed the return of the infection. From the Howling Cliffs to the Black Egg Temple to the cast-off shell of the Pale King's original worm form at the kingdom's edge, Hornet watched
That's
as
crazy.
the kingdom was filled with dangers. These bugs simply wandered the region
I wonder where the
in
worms
which they
came
had
from.
passed away. They retained
I
their
guess it doesn't
muscle
really
memory
matter,
of their roles
but
during the kingdom's heyday. But
maybe that plays into like
infection
the
also
Silksong
clouded
story.
their
I don't know.
minds and made them aggressive upon even a simple interaction. The miners of Crystal Peak mined, the guards protected the streets, and husks wandered the forgotten crossroads, all in the Radiance's haze. Still, those of sound mind and new arrivals delved into these ruins as the infection brought it back to life. In a deserted village, there was one Menderbug who had survived the entire infection, and he kept working. When he discovered a broken sign, he fixed it. As he worked, he wrote of his
Look at this guy.
accomplishments in his diary.
Wait, no,
To
did
the
we
east
not
of
find
his
this guy?
village, another bug ran a charm store.
I don't think we
Celebra
found that guy.
appeared
He's
to be
awesome.
completely unaware that the kingdom had fallen. She thought maybe business had just gotten a little quiet lately.
Yeah, no, I know the
Amongst
worm is
those
the
who
Pale
sought
King.
glory,
I
Zote
just
the
mean I wonder
Mighty
like where they
arrived in
hail
Hallownest.
from,
This
you
place
could say.
reminded him of home. Zote believed names had power. That was why he had called his nail the Life Ender.
The Life
Yet,
Ender.
Zote's image of himself as a mighty warrior was not the case.
No.
He struggled against the most basic of foes as he wandered the caverns alone.
Yeah, but he
A
struggled a
married
bit.
couple, Cornifer and his wife, Eselda, also arrived in Hallownest. Cornifer wanted to explore the world, and he did, as he took on the task to map the kingdom. As his
So like
wife set
some
up
of
a
the
store
people
in
that were here
Dirtmouth.
already were immune
Within
to
Fog
the
Canyon,
whole
an
deal.
explorer also discovered
But then
a great
also,
way to earn geo from the passing adventurers. Millabelle knew bugs
if you
and
were a
how
new
to manipulate
arrival,
them. In the safer region of
then
the
you
infected,
weren't affected.
jellyfish-inhabited misty caverns of Hallownest, Millabelle
And it
set
said
up a
earlier that
bank to
one
store
of
the geo of those
one
who
of the
wanted to
vessels
protect
left
their wealth.
and then came back, which that is
All was
definitely
not
us.
what it seemed. Millabelle planned to run away with all the geo she
Yeah, you guys
managed
were
to
kind of hinting at
extract
that.
from her marks. In the neighboring region of the fungal wastes, Leg-Eater either lived there or moved there to set up his own charm
That
store.
dude's creepy.
Leg-Eater was blind, but had an amazing sense of smell. He believed that if he earned enough geo, he would become
Why did this
a
music
king.
get like so sick?
It was here the bug created charms, but how he did this is unknown. On a quest of bravery, a cicada warrior sought to challenge Hallownest's mighty, terrifying
It's like, let me
beasts.
at him.
Cloth had the best intention to die in an intense, climactic battle with her club so that she could be reunited with Nola, her partner who had passed away. But the creatures of Hallownest scared her, and sometimes she hid.
Oh, I see.
Hallownest was
So
alive
she wanted to go
once
out.
again with new adventurers, explorers, and the husks of the departed. Within the Temple of the Black Egg, the Hollow Knight grew weaker, and the Radiance's influence on the land grew stronger. Hallownest, however, was
Oh,
still
I see. So he
protected
was like
by the
containing it for the
seal
longest time, but then was kept getting weaker, and that
Radiance.
explains like the crack along there.
Many of the
Man, his
vessels
story
that
is,
had
like,
escaped
super
their
sad,
fate
man.
at the bottom of the abyss had explored the ruins.
Grew up
of
with dad and
Hallownest.
everything,
Many
and then
had been
developed
lured
feelings, and then just got
brutally killed
imprisoned
by
and
the
thrown in there
terrifying,
forever.
shape-shifting Nosk of Deepnest. There was also another vessel who had
There we
returned
go.
to Hallownest after it had heard a call. As of now, it is unknown what called it, the Radiance or the Hollow Knights. Regardless, this vessel, the Knight, traversed King's Pass and arrived in Dirtmouth.
That's so
it
interesting.
met Elderbug and was told of the Grand Kingdom below, a kingdom that had become.
I wonder then if
a
it was the Hollow
on
Knight
its
that was
path,
calling
the
out.
Knight encountered
Like the
Cornifer as he
sibling-
mapped out the forgotten
sibling call.
crossroads. It fought with the false knight that wore Hegemon's armor. After it met a snail shaman, it learned how to focus soul into powerful magical strikes. It even reopened a stag station and discovered what remained of this species that had
Oh
once
yeah, because then
allowed
we were like the
Hallownest to
first one to
thrive.
ring a bell for
Sadly,
quite some time.
This stag was the last of its
And
kind.
then he was the only one
And
left
over
alive.
all of these years alone, it had forgotten the location of the stag nest. With its first passenger in ages, it asked the Knight to reopen more stations as it traveled across Hallownest and ring the bell in each so that it would hopefully
Oh yeah, because the
remember
opening cutscene does
location
have the Hollow
of
Knight
its
roaring
home.
out.
Hornet knew of the sacrifice the Dreamers had made.
Yeah.
She also watched from afar
Oh,
as
this is so cool.
vessel explored her kingdom. On a trip to the Howling Cliffs, Hornet encountered Quirrell. He too had felt the call of Hallownest in his dreams. Dreams of winding roads, misted caverns, drowning cities, and a door with something that called to him just beyond. Hornet saw
This
Quirrell
art
as
is
just
sick.
another explorer that had come to desecrate her kingdom. In a short battle, Hornet noticed
Okay.
that the mask Quirrell wore was
Are there
important.
comics for this?
Something had called him here. With the belief his journey into Hallownest was significant, the warrior of
Okay.
Deepnest returned to her kingdom to watch over the knights.
So
or,
she
as
realized-
called it, Little Ghost. In Greenpath, Hornet looked over the body of a dead
I don't know
vessel,
that I did
but
see
she
ending
was
2. I need to do
interrupted
that.
by the Knight. She warned it to come no closer, that she had seen it as it had crept through the undergrowth, and that she knew why it had come to Hallownest. She would not allow it to break the Dreamer's seals. Despite
Yeah,
Hornet's
so she just
amazing
is trying to-
ability to wield a needle and thread, the Knight defeated her in combat. As Hornet fled, the Knight picked up the Mothwing cloak from the body of the vessel. This would be just one of the many items and upgrades the vessel would acquire on its path.
This is so cool, dude.
The Dreamers had watched from the Dream Realm as the plan to save Hallownest had essentially failed. Over these ages,
and that's why the Dreamers kind of went along with us doing what we were doing, because they realized also that
However,
like the plan just was not working.
About the arrival of this vessel from their realm, Lurien the Watcher, Monoman the Teacher, and Hera the Beast projected their minds into the physical realm and spoke to the night. They asked if it sought to break the seals. Lurien ordered the night
I think it literally
to
says,
stop
does
what
it
started
seek to break the
and
seal?
leave them to sleep in peace. Despite their request, the night continued on.
That's a good
and found
question.
its
What
way
an
to a
emotionless,
statue
empty
of the
being without
Dreamers
will
in
does while
the
traveling. I don't know.
grounds. To protect the vessel, the Dreamers lay sleeping. Monoman
To
the Teacher
protect the
in
vessel.
her archive, surrounded by fog and the mist.
Which would be
Lurien
the Hollow
Watcher
Knight.
in his spire, looking over the city. Hera the Beast in her den, amidst the deep darkness beyond the kingdom. Through their devotion, Hallownest lasts eternal. It had been through the Pale King's plan that Hallownest had entered a period of stasis. The darkness and stillness of void appeared to perpetuate one long night. The kingdom was still there, but frozen in a state of ruin. Eternal.
Ask Cyrus from Pokemon,
believed that if the Dreamer's seals were broken, the Radiant's light would bring with it dawn, and with it the complete collapse of Hallownest. Lurien wanted Hallownest to remain as it was. He was
Didn't do
loyal to
sealed
his king,
siblings?
and
Yeah, that
his
doesn't
king
sound familiar.
wanted Hallownest to last eternal. The Dreamers also did know that the Hollow Knight had grown so much weaker over this long period. Various binding seals had been crafted inside the egg, but they would not be strong enough to stop the radiance. Lurien had to keep the Dreamers' seals active. To stop the night, the Dreamers
It's funny how
pulled
much
the
this is
vessel
reminding
from
me of different
Hallownest
Zelda
into
lore
the
too.
Dream Realm. It was here that
It's kind of like
found
Zelda
itself trapped
in Breath of the Wild, like
space
sealing
between
Ganon,
body
right? And then
soul.
kind of
The Dreamers had displayed
slowly
their
over
ability
time
to
failing.
manipulate the Dream Realm, but they were not the only ones in Hallownest that knew how to travel between worlds. Within the resting grounds, the last moth of Hallownest discovered the vessel. In her dream form, the seer guided the knight towards a dream nail. It was with this that it pierced the veil between worlds and returned to Hallownest. This seer had lost so much on her own over all of this time. She had still tended to the graves of the fallen. As she had completed her tasks, the seer felt
So for
immense
sealed
remorse
siblings,
for
do you just beat the Hollow Knight and then attack instead of dream nailing?
Their backs on the
Is that what it is?
radiance that had given them life and light, and it was because of this that she had reacted so aggressively. The seer knew of the Dreamers and the sacrifice of the Hollow Knight. She also knew how to help the Knight complete its task to break the seals so that change could come to Hallownest. She did also have another agenda. If she could acquire enough essence,
attack her way too long. Okay.
With
Should we do that really quick at the end here?
The dream nail had dulled over time, but the essence it needed to be fully restored
just to see it
around everywhere. Within the whispering root trees, the warriors who had passed on, and the bugs.
So that must be a non-canon ending, though.
Source of
and
essence.
like with silksong in mind.
It was with this ancient moth artifact
or
that
maybe not.
it would be able to enter the dreams of the dreamers, and inside destroy them and their seals. Over its journey, the knight explored the many stunning, haunted regions of Hallownest. It helped
kind of the bad ending,
from the infection of Hallownest in an abandoned village. It also helped Bretta with the same ailment within the fungal wastes. In Crystal Peak, the knight met Myla, a miner who had traveled to the region to search for treasure. Her singing could be heard from the entrance of this cavern. As long as she did not fall asleep, she would be okay. Mila was happy and excited
And then when
to
you
explore
sleep,
the
then you
secrets
dream,
of
and then
Crystal
you're
Peak.
stuck.
She also invited the knight to visit her again. She liked its company, and she was sure it liked her singing. In the Mantis village, the knight acquired the Mantis Claw and challenged the Mantis Lords to combat. Upon the survival of this deadly conflict, the Lords offered the knight access to Deep Nest and the honor and respect to traverse their region without issue.
That's such a cool
Deep
mechanic.
Nest, the knight was lured into the nest of Nosk, a shape-shifting monstrosity that
Yeah, that thing
killed
was
many of
gnarly.
the vessel's
We did that
siblings.
so late,
The knight,
though.
however, was stronger and more fluid than the other vessels as it used its abilities to kill the beast. The infected spiders of Deep Nest were just as dangerous as the bugs of Hallow
I hate
Nest.
those things.
The knight delved into the dark, claustrophobic, web-covered tunnels of this region and discovered the distant village, a collection of homes made of silk that hung above a deep cavern. Upon its entrance, the vessel survived a trap and then discovered the first dreamer, Hera the Beast, protected by a seal in the beast's den. With the dream nail, the knight entered her dream and destroyed her within. The death of Hera the Beast inside of her dream also killed her physical form.
We literally
This action
killed Hornet's
had
mom.
several effects across Hallow Nest.
That's rough.
Hornet became the new queen of Deep Nest after the death of her mother, and the protection on the temple of the Black Egg became much weaker after the removal of Hera's
so that was the one
seal.
that caused
The
like
plague
the
inside pushed
plague to come out.
against the edges of its prison, and the orange
Or maybe
goo
any
of
of
the
them would
infection
if you-
broke out into
depending
the
on the order,
forgotten
but-
crossroads as light seeds transformed the already aggressive corpses of Hallow Nest into deadly
way
foes.
worse.
When the knight returned to Crystal Peak, it did not hear the positive hums of Mila. She too, just like many others, had fallen to the infection.
That's so
In
sad.
her mind, she was commanded by the Radiant to kill the Empty One. She was a perfect soul driven mad. Further in,
So sad.
the knight fought the fallen and mutated bugs as it acquired the Crystal Heart, an energy core that allowed it to propel itself and fly.
Such a fun ability.
As the knight entered the City of Tears, it was met by Hornet at the Fountain Memorial. She had underestimated her half-sibling. It was a resilient born of two gods. She also offered some information. If it still wanted to continue on its journey, it should seek out the grave in ash. The grave she referred to was that of the Pale King's original form of the worm at Kingdom's Edge. It was there that it was tested by Hornet
that's where the other
once
fight
again in
was.
combat to see if it was strong enough to do what needed to be done to save Hallow Nest. Inside of the corpse of the worm, the knight acquired the King's brand. It essentially selected the knight as king of Hallow Nest and access to
And that was
every
like where the
region
Pale King
within.
himself hatched out,
Back
essentially,
in the
right there.
City of Tears, the knight climbed the Soul Sanctum, fought with the infected scholars inside, and even defeated the Soul Master. It was in this victory that it learned Desolate Dive, a powerful spell that allowed it to smash through the ground. The knight then climbed the Watcher's Spire, defeated the Watcher Knights, and came across the sleeping body of the second dreamer, Lurian the Watcher. Just as it had done with Hera, the knight entered the dream of this bug, so loyal to his king, and destroyed him.
Destroyed, yeah. It's
Interestingly
rip.
enough, this dream realm was a little brighter than that of the last dreamer. A sign that the Radiance's influence was
they were all
getting
the same, and
stronger.
it's the same
A new
place where you
dawn
fight the
was on
Radiance
the
too.
way.
And the
Having
brightness was
destroyed two of the
increasing.
dreamer's
I didn't really
seals,
notice
the
that at the
kingdom
time.
became more alive than it
That's a
had
cool
been
detail,
for
though.
many years. In the basin of Hallow Nest, the knight fought with a vessel which had been infected by light seeds. Further in, it picked up the Monarch Wings, wings of ethereal matter that granted the knight the power
Best
to
ability in the
jump
game.
higher.
Love
in
it.
the royal waterways,
Doma,
the
Doma,
little
Doma.
ghost discovered Ogrim. He defended the grove Isma had entered and not returned.
Wait, so
and in his time
that was the dung
alone,
defender though,
he
right?
had crafted statues of his friends. With limited material in the sewers of Hallow Nest, this once white defender had become the dung defender. as
Oh,
he
that's
had
crazy.
used the vast quantity of the waste of Hallow Nest in his creations.
Oh, man.
Further in, the vessel navigated Isma's grove and found her body. The cause of her death is unknown, but
It looks like
did
she's
make a
fused with
wish.
plants.
This had created a charm, Isma's tear, that gave the knight the protection to swim through the acid lakes
You
of
think he's the
Hallow Nest
ghost because he's
without
made of void, or because by all
Deeper
accounts he should already be
into
dead?
the
Yeah.
royal waterways, the knight encountered Tuck, a scavenger bug who searched for someone.
Oh yeah, I do remember that guy.
Someone she believed had something to apologize for. Who the person
I don't think
Tuck
we ever
searched
went
for
back to
is
them.
unknown. However, it is likely she sought out Boone, another scavenger bug who was sighted close to the Howling Cliffs. Within the abyss, the place it and its kin had been discarded and hollowed out by the void. It was here that it reactivated the lighthouse and calmed the void as it attained the Shade Cloak. A cloak formed of void that offered the knight the power to traverse the void. Over its short time in Hallow Nest, the knight had
This whole game
grown
is making so much more sense now. This is
much
crazy.
Stronger. Within the Howling Cliffs,
here we go. Grim
an
Troop.
acolyte of the Grim Troop had died before it could light the Nightmare Lantern, a powerful device that summoned the troop. Hallow Nest was exactly what they fed off, a fallen kingdom full of nightmare essence. The knights discovered the body of this creature and it lit the lantern. In doing so, the Grim Troop traveled from the Nightmare Realm and set up their tents within
It is.
Dirtmouth.
It's really cool.
As this had happened, their leader, Grim, sent Grimkin into Hallow Nest to collect the nightmare essence of the ruined kingdom. Upon the knight's return to Dirtmouth, it entered the tent of the Grim Troop leader and was asked if it wanted to participate in the ritual.
Grim is so cool.
Over the following hours, the knight traveled with a Grim child appointed by Grim and fed the nightmare essence harvested by the Grimkin to the Grim child. The troop leader watched as the Grim child grew stronger and stronger. This was important to
Yeah, we
the
didn't do the
survival and
final one of
everlasting
these.
cycle of the nightmare heart. When the
Nightmare
Grim
heart,
child had
yeah.
absorbed enough nightmare essence, the next stage of this ritual would begin. The Nightmare King Grim would be killed
Nightmare King
inside
Grim,
of the
yeah.
Nightmare Realm.
We didn't do
As a
that.
result, the Grim Child would feed on the energy, become host to the Nightmare Realm, and then become the new Nightmare King.
Wow.
This was a cycle that had occurred.
Oh,
for
so he was, like,
countless
passing on
years. The
his
knight, however, had
leadership,
a
essentially.
choice. If it followed through with the ritual, then the Grim Child would absorb the Nightmare Essence and become the new host of the Nightmare Realm. If the knight instead destroyed the Nightmare Lantern in Hallow Nest, it would force the traveling troop to
Whoa.
leave and seek out another ruined kingdom.
Oh, you
In
can do that
doing
too?
this, one of their followers, Brum, would be able to remove the mask that had enslaved him to the Grim Troop.
Whoa, that's
Brum
crazy.
would remember who he was.
Whoa.
Nim. With
Whoa, that's
just
so
one
cool.
more dreamer to go,
You actually
and
have, like, a
powerful
choice with that.
abilities in its hands, the knight traveled to Fog Canyon. The archives of Monoman the Teacher were filled with aggressive jellyfish, but none of them were as dangerous as a beast Monoman had charged to protect her chamber, Umu. The issue
Umu.
was that Umu had also twisted to the corruption. To the knight's look, Quirrell also returned to the
okay.
archives after he had explored Hallow Nest in an attempt to remember this kingdom. Quirrell weakened the beast
Guardian
as the
Metroids,
knight
literally.
struck it. As they approached Monoman, Quirrell revealed the teacher's mask and removed the additional layer of protection. Inside of the dream realm of Monoman,
That's
the
true,
knights
that's true.
noticed just
It would
how
just be
bright the realm had become. The radiance
Mm.
had become so much stronger since the death of the other two dreamers. Monoman knew what the knights sought to do and welcomed it. its actions going forward to hopefully save the kingdom.
Yeah.
The death of the final dreamer removed the protection of the Temple of the Black Egg, and with it, only the Hollow
more
Knight
seal.
remained. Quirrell had served Monument for so long, and as the long night came to an end and the Radiance prepared to unleash her light to create dawn, Quirrell felt himself age. The stasis of Hallownest was over. Quirrell had wondered since it had returned to Hallownest where the water
just trying to
that
get to
rained upon
Uwu.
the City of Tears came from. As he explored, he
The
discovered
Blue Lake
the
is so
blue
cool.
lake in the cavern above the city, and he felt at peace. It was here that he dug his nail into the ground.
This part was so
and
sad.
left. After this, he did pass away. How he did is unknown.
Yeah.
During its time
Quirrell
in
is
Hallownest, the night
the
had
MVP.
changed so much. It had given the nailsmith close to the City of Tears enough pale ore to craft the pure nail, his life's achievement. Having completed this goal, the nailsmith asked
Real
that
G.
it strike him down. If the
Which
knight
we did not
refused
do,
to
by the
so,
way. We did not do that.
The nailsmith was free to pursue something else. Speaking of Shio, the knight also learned nail art from Shio, Mato, and Oro to help it in its journey. The vessel had opened up enough stag stations across Hallownest for the
Excuse me.
last stag to remember the location of its nest. In a bitter-sweet moment, the
Yeah, that's
last
rough.
stag discovered the remains of those he had once traveled with. He was the last one here, but he also sensed that others just like him had journeyed out into other lands. With what appeared to be a cracked egg, the old stag had hope for his kind. With the amount of essence it had collected on its journey, the knight even pushed the dream nail to its full potential and woke it
Yeah,
up.
we did.
This collection of 2,400 essence was more than enough for the seer to truly
Wait, did we get
repent for her
2,400?
and her tribe's
thought we only
crimes
did
against
18.
the Radiance. In a moment of true remorse, the seer exploded into essence
Whoa.
and became one with the Radiance.
I think we got that though.
For an entity
Oh,
without
that's
a
just the
mind
max.
to
Oh, okay.
think and no voice to cry suffering, it had changed Hallownest. It even angered Zote the Mighty as it rescued him from several compromising situations. Situations that Zote believed he could have survived without.
Yeah, he's like, I got
help.
this. Don't worry.
Having destroyed the seals
Okay.
and helped whoever it had encountered in Hallownest, the knight had several options on what to do next. Each thread it traversed would have a very different effect on how its story would come to an end.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so glad that we did the Radiance thing too. I guess we
Having
don't have to pop
destroyed
in
the
game because we'll see it
Dreamer's
right here.
seals of Hallownest, the knight traversed the now heavily infested Forgotten Crossroads. Then it entered
this is the
Black
first
Egg
ending.
Temple.
Hollow
It was
Knight
here that
Zote
the
boat.
knight freed the Hollow Knight from the chains of this prison, and a fight began. The Hollow Knight was plagued by the infection of the Radiance, and
Yeah.
it was in pain.
Such a sad
With
fight.
every ability, spell, nail art, and nail upgrade this little ghost had discovered on its journey through Hallownest, it fought with
And he's just trying to
defeated
get
the
that
Hollow
infection
Knight.
out, too.
As the infection flowed out of the Hollow Knight, the knight focused on it and absorbed it into itself. It became the new vessel of the Radiance, and with it was chained and then sealed inside of the Black Egg Temple.
Yeah.
It had become exactly what the Pale King had wanted. A pure vessel, the new Hollow Knight, trapped inside forever. No mind
Yeah.
to think, no will to break, and no voice to cry suffering.
So
its sacrifice.
yeah,
would
so
keep
technically that sucks for the
Hallownest
player character,
eternal.
but that actually would keep the Radiance at bay. And then this is
The
number
knight
2.
had made so many changes to Hallownest during its exploration of the ruined kingdom. However, it had one more region of this
Yeah,
realm
exactly.
to discover.
Look at me.
On a path
I'm the Hollow
through
Knight.
Queen's Gardens, the knight fought the infected traitor lords. If the knight had helped Cloth earlier on their journey, they would have been helped by her. Unfortunately, or fortunately in the case of Cloth, she was mortally wounded but still landed the final blow on the creature. Cloth quickly succumbed to her injuries and died as a result of a great battle, just like she had wanted, finally reunited with Nola. Deeper into this brutal yet luscious region, the knights found the body of Drya just outside.
That's kind of what I was thinking, Wolfsbane. Yeah, it seems like you do kind of
inside the White
gain some level of attachment.
She had felt the
maybe even just with Cornifer, right? Like as the player, you walk and just hear.
Believed she could somehow help her spawn. At first, she asked that it take the place of the Hollow Knight, and then offered it a fragment of the King Soul charm. Her part in the union between
that makes
herself
so
and
much
the
sense.
Pale King. For the second fragment
that
of
makes
the
so
King
much
Soul charm,
sense.
the knight traveled to the ancient basin
and then you have to go
and
to
location of the missing
Pale
White
King.
Palace. Having awoken the dream now
For his
with
part of
so much essence, the knight entered a dream realm within a fallen king's mold.
True.
Within, the knight found itself in the White Palace. The royal retainers
if we actually
here
didn't
were unaware
care,
that
we would have
king
killed the
had
nailsmith, but we
fallen.
did.
They waited for his
We did care.
return. These were the lucky few who had survived the onslaught and infection of the Radiance. As the knight climbed this holy place and evaded its dangers, it discovered the body of its father on his throne. The Pale King held the other part of the King Soul charm in his hand. Both parts of the charm slammed together and formed back into the King Soul. With it, the knight followed the charm's guidance into the abyss. Right at the bottom, surrounded by the countless bodies of its siblings, the knight discovered a new pathway that the King Soul had opened up for it.
And then you figure that out and it becomes the Void Heart, right?
The vessel entered the birthplace, where it had been
this place is crazy.
Where it had died, and then began its journey. The little ghost avoided the strikes of the shades who lingered in this place and came across a shiny black egg that offered a reflection of this poor, unfortunate creature. Upon a strike with the dream nail, the
Nailsmith
knight
does
had
seem cool.
A vision of the past. How it had climbed its way out of the abyss just as the Pale King had chosen a vessel as the Hollow Knight. How it had fallen into a death pit below. This vision showed it what it was, that these shades were its siblings, and that it was essentially a failed experiment created to save a kingdom. Having learned the truth, the King's Soul was engulfed with void and transformed into the Void Heart, a charm that unified the void under the knight's will.
That makes
As the
sense.
knight traveled to the Temple of the Black Egg, it was greeted by Hornet. She explained that she would not join it inside as the structure had been built to sustain vessels. If she were to enter, the bindings inside would drain her. She stated that while she would not risk her own life in the
so
initial
this ending
battle
really
against
sucks
the
because she
Hollow
probably
Knight,
can't even
she
take that.
would aid her sibling if the moment presented itself. Just as Hornet had promised, during the battle between the Knight and the Hollow Knight, she jumped in just as the Radiance-infected vessel fell weak, and she retained it so that the Knight could finish it off. During this struggle, the Hollow Knight knocked Hornet down and she fell unconscious. In these moments, the Knight defeated the Hollow Knight and it focused and absorbed everything that the Hollow Knight was and became the new vessel. Just as quickly
That's
as
interesting
because
from a lore perspective, if you do that, it's like kind of because you don't understand everything.
The egg was sealed with Hornet as a dreamer trapped inside with the knights. Hornet had become an unwilling dreamer as her sibling had followed through with the ultimate plan of the Pale King.
Oh, and then that's her face on the... Oh, yeah, because her mask goes on the outside like theirs did.
In that critical moment,
that's
in which
crazy.
Hornet
That's
held
terrible.
The Hollow Knight at bay, the knight did not strike it down. Instead, it struck the creature with the awoken dream nail and entered the dream realm.
In some way, the knight as the king theories could be considered true, since in some ways the knight inherits the kingdom.
The moth of light it had been crafted to contain. Only it would not contain.
Yeah, we're not holding on to you. We're destroying you.
It. In a brutal battle, the knight fought with the Radiance in all her glory. It
so
evaded her
cool.
powerful attacks and weakened her
Yeah,
strike
good.
by strike. Having unified the void
Oh,
under
that's
its
cool.
will,
Yeah, that's
the
what that
void
is
entered this
too.
dream with the knight. So too did the Hollow Knight in
I
its
thought
shade form.
that
Weakened by
darkness
its
coming up was
ancient
actually
enemy,
sort of
the
bad.
Radiance
Like I didn't
was
really
restrained
understand
as
it,
the
but yeah.
vessel broke free of its form
Wow.
and its shade lashed out repeatedly.
And then the Hollow
as
Knight's shade
the
form.
Radiance. This entity of light, brighter than essence, was beaten and destroyed as the
Dang.
light inside of her bled out. Then her body was dragged
Just
by
two
the void
dark shade
into
brothers
the
beating up a
darkness.
rogue god,
The
you know.
sacrifice of the
Just another
vessel had
Thursday.
destroyed the very light that had plagued Hallownest. In going
Wow.
against its father's plan, the population would dream no more of the Radiance.
That's
It
cool.
had broken the cycle. As Hornet woke up,
That's
she
so
saw
cool.
the shattered mask of her sibling. She also saw that the black egg was gone. Hallownest was free. Deep down in the abyss,
Yeah.
the shades of the children of the king and queen of Hallownest were finally free to rest, and they
Wow.
returned to the void. While
That's
the knight
sick.
had destroyed the 3 seals of the dreamers,
Dude, I wanna play
and had
Silksong
collected
so
the
bad
Void
now.
Heart, instead of traveling
Oh
to
my
the Black
goodness.
Egg, it explored the royal waterways a little more. Inside, it came across the junk pit and the cocoon sealed
Oh, and
in
this is the
chains.
God Home stuff.
With a key, the knight freed the Godseeker
It
trapped
did,
inside,
yeah.
picked up the God tuner it dropped, and entered its mind with the dream nail.
Hubris
Instantly,
is not
the Godseeker
usually
was
a very good thing.
insulted that something as
Doesn't
puny
help.
as the knight had entered her realm. She sought gods, not cringers. She believed the gods connected to
Cringers.
Godhome would destroy the knight. Regardless of her thoughts, she watched
That's actually
as the
cool
knight
that
attuned
even like
the
a
gods
boss
of
gauntlet
Hallownest
is
to Godhome
specifically
through
built
ritual
in
combat.
with like
Through
lore
each
implications
battle,
and
each
reason for it to
pantheon,
exist.
The knights defeated these powerful entities
That's
and
cool.
ascended the minds of itself
really
and
cool.
the Godseekers. This allowed the knight to attune to and fight even stronger and
Yeah,
more
exactly.
powerful gods.
Runic photo, what's up?
The Godseekers had come
We've
to
learned so
Hallownest
much.
to find the God of Gods. They wished to bask in its power. The knight
This is
rose
cool.
high in this godly coliseum and attuned to the mind of the Hollow Knight itself. Only in Godhome, it was viewed as the pure vessel. The defeat of the
Whoa.
pure vessel had an interesting effect. It elevated the realm of Godhome and allowed the Godseekers to discover the most powerful of the gods, or it allowed the God of Gods to discover them, the Absolute Radiance. In this series of
Absolute
ritual
Radiance.
combat, Godhome had connected to the dream realm of the trapped Radiance, and she wanted to fight. In another battle between 2 very powerful
probably
entities,
just a
the knight
disgusting
fought with
fight.
the Absolute Radiance. Only, as the one who had unified the Void, the knight brought this darkness into the dream and conflict with it. As the battle came to an end, the night shell shattered and its shade fell into the void. From the darkness below, void tendrils
Whoa.
latched onto the radiance as a large shade entity
Whoa, so that's
emerged
different.
from the shadows. Dubbed the Shade
Oh.
Lord, anything about
Wow.
this entity is completely unknown.
Yeah, what is that?
Whether the knight transformed into it as a result of its ability to attune the gods, or
Oh my
whether
goodness.
it had simply waited in the abyss for its time to strike, is up to your interpretation.
That's crazy.
Still, the Shade Lord ripped open the mouth of the creature of
That's
light,
insane.
struck it until it exploded into essence.
Yeah, the fact that the arena has a purpose is awesome.
The destruction of absolute radiance at the top of Godhome had several effects.
So
Within
is that
this
the night
dream
then, or
realm
is that just
created by
like the abyss
Godseekers
itself?
Through pure focus, void flooded from the clouds as the Shade Lord, or a void given focus, flew across this domain.
Wow.
From her throne, the Godseeker watched as this entity, a god of gods, took over her realm. She embraced the void as it destroyed her realm and its tendrils wrapped around her face and into her eyes.
That's
in Hallow
insane.
Nest in the Junk Pit, Void poured out of the Godseeker's physical form and tendrils slashed out aggressively.
Wow.
She had encountered what she had sought, but it had come at the cost of her life. High
Just
above
destroyed
at the
by the
temple
abyss.
of the Black Egg, Hornet looked around in confusion as the vines of infection around this region lost their power. The Radiants had been defeated somehow, and the infection had died, but the night had not entered the Black Egg. It had completed its task, but from afar. However, from the egg, Hornet heard the stomps and chains.
It is kind of
the
a
Hollow
mix of
Knight.
that, yeah.
It was no longer afflicted by the plague of the Radiants, but it still appeared to be aggressive. So she prepared her needle.
This is delicate flower.
If the knight had given the physical body of the Godseeker a delicate flower from Zemur before its battle with Absolute Radiance, these events would have played out slightly differently. The knight would have still defeated Absolute Radiance in exactly the same way. Hornet would have still noticed that the knight had stopped the infection and she would have still encountered the Hollow Knight. The difference here was that when the Void attacked the Godseeker in Godhome, and in turn traveled through her into the physical world, the delicate flower would have reacted interestingly upon contact with just a drop of Void. The flower flashed brightly,
It rejects
and in this
it.
moment, the Godseeker and Void around disappeared completely. All that remained was the flower. Whether this banished the whole Void
Whoa.
of this land is unknown.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm glad I've
The
seen that
knight
now in
had
case there's like a
met
reference
so
to that in
many
silksong.
interesting bugs on his journey. One of them was the Herald, of which the Mushroom tribe spoke of. Mr. Mushroom.
Mr. Mushroom
Throughout
is just
his
such a funny
exploration of the
name.
many stunning
That's
regions
hilarious.
of Hallow Nest, the knight had encountered Mr. Mushroom 7 times, and having worn the Spore Shroom charm, it had been able to understand
His
the
face.
mushroom. But all it heard was riddles.
Oh, that's
and
hilarious.
mumbles.
I love it.
Even now, this entity is shrouded in so much mystery. He knew that worms pulled bugs into their thrall, developed kingdoms, and as the ages passed, they fell.
Mr.
He
Mushroom
was
is
the
eternal.
Herald, a symbol of the passing of an age. Regardless of
like the
which
Silver
path
Surfer.
the knight followed and how it changed Hallow Nest, Mr. Mushroom decided it was time to go. He spoke of sandy lands, vast, ancient
I can
kingdoms,
see that, yeah.
Hallow Nest was not the first.
He's
and
like
that
a
it would
freaking
not be
rocket.
the last to fall. As Mr. Mushroom launched into the sky on his way to a new kingdom, an age came
That
to
is crazy.
an end. Despite which ending the night
Literally,
arrived
yeah.
at, Hallow Nest was changed forever. The Radiance was either
Yeah,
contained
like
or
you said, Talon,
destroyed
yeah, the
completely, and the
actual true
territories
ending is
across
definitely
this land
defeating
would be
Absolute
free
Radiance.
to rebuild. The Mosskin would continue to wait for Un to call them back to a dream. The Mantis would defend their village with
That's so
aggression,
cool.
and the Beasts of Deep Nest would attempt to return to a time before their king had died and their queen had volunteered her mind. With many new adventurers and explorers having arrived in Hallow Nest during its period of stasis, these bugs could either simply explore a fallen kingdom or
Yeah.
help rebuild
Yeah, there's like
it.
enough people
The
there. I
fate
feel
of
like you
Hallow
can
Nest
build
truly is up to you,
another
the player,
civilization.
and your choice of how the
Team
night's
Rocket's
journey
blasting
came
off
to an
again.
end. Yet, if the Embrace the Void ending was considered true canon, then it would appear that Hallow Nest would be under attack from another force, Void, after the Void Beast traveled through the mind of the Godseeker, the only weapon
Yeah.
to stop it, light or a delicate flower. Team Cherry have
Wow.
stated that the canon ending is up to the player's choosing. However, with the Hollow Knight sequel on the way, it would suggest that the second ending, Sealed Siblings, cannot be canon in any sense,
Yeah,
as
see-
Hornet leaves Hallow Nest and travels to Farlu.
That's what I was
a
thinking too, because there's no
kingdom
way
ruled
that
and
she's
haunted
sealed.
by silk and song, dedicated to faith. and
Whoa, those
knowledge.
areas are beautiful.
As of now, The fate of Hollow Nest is of your choosing.
Dang. Oh,
I
that's
have
so
loved
cool.
exploring Hollow Knight and
Wow,
Hollow
that's
Nest
cool.
over the past few months. As you can see, I haven't posted a video in a couple of weeks because
guy's
the
a big lore
research
guy.
for this timeline was so time-consuming and
Again,
extensive. It
go
was
check out
also
this
completely
original
worth it.
video.
This is one of the best stories I
Pin
have
comment
explored,
in the
and
description
I
as well.
cannot wait for Silksong to come out so that I can
Gotta leave a
explore
like
another
here.
kingdom from the minds of Team Cherry. This video would not have been possible
Oh, I'm not
without
signed in. I'll go
Skyrionn,
back and leave a
mod
like.
manager, and
Either way.
these mods right here. The Pale Court mod was also incredibly useful to see what other fans envisioned
he's
the
just like
5
showing
great
mods and
Knights
stuff.
of Hollow Nest to look like before its fall.
Oh, that's
and
pretty cool.
How they fall.
That's pretty cool. Well, yeah. Okay. Now we understand everything. That's pretty nuts. Yeah, I think I'm going to love Silksong too. I was going to say we could do ending too, but we just saw it like pretty much presented in full detail there. So I don't think there's really any need. Did the lore video get into the warrior dreams? I don't know. I don't know that it did. What is the warrior dreams? Let me see. Marmu and such. I'm not sure that it actually did that. Let me look here. Just look it up. Whoa, what is that doing? There we go. Oh, yeah, those guys. No, I don't think it really did. Like, it showed them a little bit, but it didn't really break them down much at all. So that'll be something to look into, I guess. Is there a video on that? I don't know that there is. Only for fighting them. I'll have to look that up and just kind of research that, but we'll see. Better be doing the wiki and not the fandom. I'm looking at a few different things, but yeah, I'm not seeing anything too crazy there. But yeah, so that's the lore of Hollow Knight. So Silksong, we're going to start up next. I did the poll about Legends ZA if you guys wanted like a little Pokemon Legends stream to kind of check it out for a second before we started Silksong. But it seems like everybody just wants to go to Silksong. And to be honest, I kind of do too. So that is what we're going to do next. I will let you guys know for sure what day we start. It'll probably be either Thursday or Saturday. That's kind of becoming our new schedule a little bit. So we'll see what we do. Fandom is a scummy wiki site. I don't know anything about that, to be honest, but maybe it is. Please, can we do ending too? I mean, I thought about it, but I don't know. I guess I could do it just for the achievement. What do you think? You guys want me to run it real quick? I don't have the achievement yet. Should we run it? Let's do it. Pokemon Company ruined your faith in ZA. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand that. Totally understand that. Okay, let's see. I just gotta switch up my sources real quick. Could be that. Yeah, pretty easy. Sounds good, Robert. Thanks for stopping by. All right. Think we're in? Yeah, we're in. See if we get our audio like we should. Yeah, there we go. We are in the White Palace right now. We'll have to get out of here. Yeah. Back in the game. Look at us go. I bet the Kalos starter Megastones are locked behind actually playing in the online tournaments. Oh, I think they are, which is kind of wild. I'm not a big fan of that, especially just depending on how they run that. I think that's going to be like kind of whack, but we'll see what happens. All right, this is my way out of here. I think it's seasons. I think that's what it is. I think it's like ranked seasons. So like the reward for the first one is 1 and then the second one is 1. Well, see, yeah, that's what I wonder too. I don't know if you have to like actually place a certain way to qualify for it. Like, are they actually going to lock people out, or is it just kind of like randomly coming out during that season regardless of whether you participate? Because if that's the case, then what's even the point of putting it behind that anyway? Like, it's just very weird. I don't know. Very, very strange. All right, where are we at? Where are we at? We are down low. So yeah, we got to go back up. Yeah, no, I almost feel like that has to be the case, because like I said, it doesn't even make sense if you can get it without even placing really or anything. It's very weird. Like, I think the gameplay is going to be fun and everything, obviously, but it's a weird situation. Pokemon's in such a strange place right now. Oh, am I higher up than I thought I was? I might be. No. Yes, possibly. Telling you, man, I don't like not having the compass on. Gets schmacked. In the same place as Team Fortress 2. Oh, do we still have the music like way down? Because I think we do. Yeah, we do. We can get the music back. I guess this area doesn't really have a ton of music, but still. Oh, I am like... Ow! Guys, we're still really good at this game. Don't even worry about it. Hold on, man. This is a way that I can go. There we go. Lots of guys. All right, I'm just trying to get somewhere where I can warp, dang it. I'm still back here. What? All right, this is taking too long. What the heck? I just want to get to the other place. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Hold up. Okay, buddy. Okay, buddy. All right, we got to go back down. This is not where I want to be. This is the intro in here. And then we have to go just down and to the right. Except that's not a thing. Yeah, the whole Pal World lawsuit situation is just insane. What the heck? Where is this? Not there either. Is it like just down even further? Is that what I'm missing? It must be. Maybe it's this. I should have, yeah. Palace grounds. This is what I was after. Okay, we got it, we got it, we got it. Everything's fine. Everything's chill. Don't you worry. We just should have gone literally straight just this way instead, is what we should have done. We were already in the palace grounds. Okay. I'm gonna bench. I don't really need the compass at this point. There we go. He's already here. And then Dirtmouth. Now we're getting it. So literally all we have to do is beat the Hollow Knight. And then not use the Dream Nail, which feels terrible. This ending is rough. Just trapping Hornet, like that feels so bad. All right, I'm gonna mix this up a little bit. We don't really need that. Don't really need that either. Don't really need that either. We're just gonna go Mr. Buffman, Buff Boy Man, McBuff, and then maybe even Grimchild just for fun. Nah, we don't need Grimchild. Honestly, Grimchild kind of screws you up a little bit. Let's go Sharp Shadow. We'll just get real nifty with it. Let's go. Whoosh. All right, here we go. Ending number 2. We're locking it in real quick, like. Off we go. I'm sorry for what's about to happen, Hornet. It's not canon. Bonito or something. You know, I'd very much expect Game Freak and Pokemon Company actually bait modders and ROM hackers by making garbage slop and suing for copyright. Yeah, it's wild to me that they are doing all this lawsuit stuff with Pal World, and then they literally created Minecraft Animal Crossing for Pokemon. That's the craziest thing. It's like you're out here and you're gonna accuse people of stealing your ideas, and then you're gonna also turn around and blatantly steal other people's ideas. That's actually crazy. Like, that is actual insanity. Here we go. Ending number 2. Let's lock it in. There we go. I want to try the sharp shadow strats. It's so good. You can't handle me, buddy. Yeah, literally. They'll patent building with blocks and then sue Minecraft. Oh, forgot about that. Hold on, we're healing real fast. There we go. Is it already coming? Yep, it is. Get good. Sorry, Hornet, I didn't understand the cues. Oh, it's so sad. I hate that. I really hate that. I don't like this at all. I really don't. I'm sorry, Hornet. I didn't mean to. I mean, I kind of did, but I'm so sorry. Oh, this is horrible. Breaking those chains. Yeah, pretty much, pretty much. I hate that. That's so terrible, man. Wow. Giving Hornet the infection. Yeah, pretty much. That's so sad that her mask goes on the outside like that too. I'm glad that is not her canon ending, it seems. It would be such a cool character wasted. There it is, the sealed siblings achievement. Alright guys, well that has been our entire journey through Hollow Knight. I'm not gonna do all the like Pantheon stuff and everything because that would just be a big rage fest probably, and we saw it that way, but we're gonna go into Silksong like I said next, and I will let you guys know specifically when that's gonna happen. But that game was a ton of fun. I'm so glad to have finally actually locked in and beaten Hollow Knight and understand the game. At some point I will definitely run through it again on my own on the Switch, and I probably will try the Pantheon and everything whenever I can just kind of sit and mess with it on my own time. But yeah, that was so fun. Thank you guys for hanging out during that series and checking this out as well. And I will see you guys next week for some Silksong. So I hope you're ready to get good. I'm ready to get good. Hopefully. I think that's going to happen. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I beat Radiance, so like I think I can do it. But anyway, you guys have a good one. I have like an ending thing. Where do I have it? There it is. I think it works. I'm going to try it and see what happens. We'll see if it works. We'll catch you guys later. I don't think it works. Yeah, it's errored out. All right, we're gonna do this one. Maybe it's this one.